Okay, so Manchester United face Wigan in the FA Cup this weekend. We've got Harves, Howson and Joshy here, so let's talk about it. Guys, how important are these cup competitions, but also what kind of effect can they have to our season? We're now playing for 4 trophies. We've got to move games around now. The City United game's been moved to face Southampton in the FL Cup final. Have we got a squad big enough to do this? Howson?
Yeah, I think we have a squad big enough to do this. Whether or not we're utilising the squad correctly to do this is another thing altogether. I think one thing that I've noticed, the last couple of games, Michael Carrick's been a little bit tired. And when Michael Carrick plays and plays well, Manchester United perform and we perform well. When he doesn't play and when he doesn't play well, Manchester United look disjointed. We can't pass. We look like we're a million miles away from the finished product, which I think means that Jose Mourinho's got a massive, massive problem in terms of replacing Michael Carrick either at the end of the season in the summer transfer window or finding someone who can deputise for him, be that Bastian Schweinsteiger, be that Fosu Mensah. But the fact that he's not given any of these any starts up to now means that I just don't see Jose Mourinho taking the risk of throwing him in. And I just think he's going to keep throwing an increasingly diminished Michael Carrick in week after week after week because we don't have any better solution.
Okay, Joshy, how about you?
Yeah, I think House makes some good points. I mean, it's great to be involved in all 4 competitions, and it shouldn't really detract from the league because that's the whole point of having a squad that we do. I think overall the squad is, in terms of numbers and depth, pretty decent. And obviously we have areas that need to be strengthened. And I don't think we should just strengthen for the sake of it. But I will say that actually in central midfield, which House has already alluded to, we are a bit light because I'm not a huge fan of Fellaini, and I don't think he really helps us in games, although he does obviously contribute every now and then. So yeah, this issue with Carrick, and then Herrera and Pogba. Pogba's going to end up playing quite a few games. Even he's shown a little bit, looks like he's a bit sort of jaded in the last few games as well. Particularly against Liverpool, which is quite sort of well covered. And then you look at up front as well, like Zlatan also has looked a little bit off the pace recently. So I think we have the squad, but I just wonder whether Jose Mourinho will risk some of the younger players that come through. I think Fosu Mensah being the most obvious one. But I think, generally speaking, we do have the players like Luke Shaw. Again, I don't know why he's not necessarily getting games. Daley Blind, I think, could be an option in these types of games coming up to give Carrick that sort of rest. And again, it's just a bit odd that we've not seen Schweinsteiger, even though he's been retained and he's been on the subs bench. We've not seen him in terms of giving Carrick a little bit of an extended rest because, again, he is another one that looks a little bit tired recently.
Okay. Harves, what do you think? How do you feel about how United are using their squad and how important it is to focus on all competitions? Or should we, I don't know, give up on some?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think Mourinho's going to want to win a trophy in his first season at United. But I completely agree with Joshua regarding Daley Blind. I think he's the ideal replacement for Michael Carrick. He's got a good footballing brain. He's not the quickest, not the strongest, but I think he makes up with it for his footballing brain. He's a top player. And I think when he's played in central midfield, he's done all right. He's not really put a foot wrong.
Okay, you've all mentioned Michael Carrick, so let's focus on him a little bit more. Harves, how important do you think he is to the team? How important do you think he is per game? And how important it is, do you think he gets rest? He came off at half-time against Liverpool, and he hasn't been superb the last couple of games. Is that because he's tired?
Yeah, I think so. He's getting on a little bit now, isn't he? But very important for the squad. He reminds me of Pirlo. I think he's the closest thing we've ever had in England to Pirlo. He makes everything tick. He's like the cog in midfield that makes it all work. And when he's not playing his best, I think it affects United.
Okay, Joshua, what do you think is the solution to that? Is it use him just in the key games or, play him 3 out of every 4 or 2 out of every 3 or what do you think?
I mean, I don't think there's any sort of magic formula in how to manage the players. And obviously, I'm not in the squad. I'm not like the physios. I don't know. I have that sort of inside line. But I think it's clear that at his age, he's not going to be able to play 2 games in a short period of time. I anticipate he probably won't play at the weekend. And we're seeing it, this extended run that he's had. I think it's certainly a credible theory to suggest he is starting to feel the effects of having that extended run in the side where he's been so important and we've played at quite a high intensity. Against Liverpool, I think they targeted him with the way they set up and he didn't get that time and space on the ball. He wasn't helped by the fact that Pogba had a really poor game and generally speaking, the team were a bit shoddy. And I think that sort of just carried through. So it's difficult to say exactly how to manage it. Obviously, Jose will know his squad, but I certainly think that players like Daley Blind, Fosu Mensah, Schweinsteiger, if you're going to have them in the side and you're going to see them on the bench, then obviously he's got in his mind that they should be able to play. So why not try them out?
It's a very good question. Howson, is there an obvious solution in your mind, or do we just need to see how Carrick is performing?
I wouldn't say it's completely obvious. No, I think you've got to experiment, and this is the problem: is because Jose Mourinho's still been trying to find his best 11. He happened upon that midfield three of Michael Carrick, Pogba, and Herrera, and he went, "Oh shit, this is working. This is the platform now for our attack to build on." And while he's been trying to sort all the other stuff, I think he's gone, right, that works, leave it as that. But now that's starting to break down a little bit, it's starting to degrade because it relies on a 35-year-old who for the last few seasons actually hasn't played full seasons because of his age, because of the fact that he's getting on. I think that he needs to go, right now, okay, we need an alternative. And it might be an alternate formation where you bring in maybe a number 10 ahead of him and you bring Pogba and Herrera back. It might be that you have to give Daley Blind a shout. I think Daley Blind is a great shout. He's very similar to Michael Carrick. I think that would rock the boat the least to just swap him in for Michael Carrick. As Josh mentioned, you've also got Schweinsteiger. Fellaini is a different type of footballer, and I think that there's a time and a place to use him. But if you want to go for your default setting, I think that you've got to really go with someone that's going to replace what Michael Carrick offers in that team, and that's the protection of the back four and moving the ball forward from the middle into the final third. And there's not that many players do that, but I do think Daley Blind can do that, to be honest.
Okay, Paul has suggested, who's been on the show a few times, that perhaps the answer is a rotation in the system that the team plays. So when Michael Carrick doesn't play, we play a 2-3-1 with Mata coming in at number 10 and Herrera and Pogba playing slightly deeper. Do you think that would be a sensible solution?
It depends on the team, because when I've seen Pogba played in part of the two as a 4-2-3-1, I don't think he's really impressed that much. I think Pogba, you get the best out of Pogba in a midfield three when it's working. You've got Herrera doing the graft, the physical, the dirty work. You have Carrick seeing the picture and quarterbacking it from the rear. And then you have Pogba with almost like a free role. Pogba, when he's played as a number 10 with his back to goal, doesn't work. Pogba, when he's played as a number 6 with that real deep role, I don't think it works. I know Statman Dave's a big fan, and he really thinks that Pogba could take over from Michael Carrick at the base of that triangle. I don't see it myself. I think he's a player that needs to be able to drive into the opposition box. He likes getting shots. He likes creating chances for other people. He's created more chances than anybody else in the Premier League. If Zlatan had put half of those away, he'd have been on about 300 goals himself already this season. And I think that's where you get the best out of Paul Pogba. You've got to get him into that final third. I think you massively restrict not just Paul Pogba, but Manchester United as a whole team if you bring Pogba and just sit him in that Michael Carrick role and have him trying to play balls from that sort of depth. I think he can do it, but I don't think he's got the defensive side to do it. He's definitely got the ability on the ball. Don't think he's got the defensive side. I just don't think that he's the right guy. I think you've got to try and mimic this three midfield system as best you can, and I think Daley Blind's the one that would come in and do that rather than changing the system every time Michael Carrick's not in. Let's get the system that works and let's try and stick as close as we can to it, I think.
So, Joshy, do you agree with that? Is there a way to drop Michael Carrick and still get the best out of Paul Pogba?
Well, I agree on the whole with what Howson was saying regarding Pogba, but I think in terms of how we manage this, the one option would be to play that 2 in midfield against certain teams. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily play it against, say, Chelsea, like Liverpool, where you want that you want to try and get that control in midfield. I know those aren't good examples of matches we played this season, but that's what you're looking for against. We're looking at Wigan at the weekend. It might be an option to bring in a bit more up top and sort of see what we can do with the 2 in midfield. And whilst Pogba, that might not be the best use of his abilities in games like that, he can certainly do the role well and maybe in a more of a box-to-box role. But in terms of managing Carrick for the rest of the season, I think it's going to be a combination of looking at the opposition and sort of rotating the formation. I think giving a little bit of time for Blind in certain games as well. Schweinsteiger, again, he's been on the bench and has come on, and I don't think he's looked great, but if you're going to trust him off the bench, then why not trust him in certain matches from the beginning? And I just don't want to see Fellaini anywhere near the side at the moment. I'm just not happy at all whenever he's near the team. But I don't think it's going to be an easy one. Even when we get into the summer, you're going to have a discussion about who can come in, who you can either promote or sign. It's not going to be easy, and it's a different conundrum to when Roy Keane left and Carrick came in, he's a different type of player, but is still an really important individual in the team. So it's going to be a hard one for Jose. Yep. And I think we're seeing that at the moment because he's still not found a solution to it.
Would you agree with that, Harves?
I think regarding Carrick, we should be playing him in the Premier League, and with these cup games, I think that's when we should be giving him his rest. Because I think top four, I think that should be our priority at the minute, getting back into the top four, and winning the League Cup or winning the FA Cup or Europa League is going to be great if we can do it. But I still think getting in the top four should be the priority over them three. So Premier League games, that's when I'd play him. And in these cup games, that's when I'd try and play Blint or get Fosu Mensah in or Schweinsteiger.
Okay, fair enough.
I'd like to see the system changed as well to a narrow diamond. I think that'd get the best out of Pogba and the best out of Zlatan as well.
All right, that's very interesting. Okay, we're going to take a really quick break now. It's literally like 30 seconds, so put the kettle on or get a cup of tea or stroke the cat or whatever it is you do. And we'll be right back. Okay, so here we go. Teams then. We're doing a sort of league at the moment where if you can predict the team correctly, you get a point for every place. Statman Dave, not surprisingly, is currently winning. Howson, what are you, third? Second? You've got 22 points.
Second,
I think. Not doing terribly. Opportunity to go first then. What is the team you're expecting to place Wigan? Place Wigan? Play Wigan.
Controversial, I'm going to go with Big Dave in net. Actually, no, I'm going to go with Romero in net. Whoa.
This is exciting.
Do you know what? That blew my own mind, man. I'm going to go with Valencia, Bay, Rojo, and Shaw as a back four. I think Shaw gets brought into the fold. I think Bay gets brought back in straight away after his little disappointing run there in the AFCON. And I'm going to say the midfield is Herrera in the 6 with Pogba and Rooney ahead of him as 2 number 8s. Usual 3-man midfield. I am resting Michael Carrick for this one. And then a forward 3 of Mickey T, Zlatan, and Tony Marshall.
Okay, Joshy, what are you doing?
I think he'll go Romero in goal. And it's a difficult one. He's rotated the sort of centre back, the back four quite a bit, other than Valencia. But I'll go with Valencia, Bay, Rojo, Blint, and I think he'll play Herrera, Pogba. I think he'll go with the 2. And then Rooney, Mkhitaryan, Lingard, and Zlatan. I think there's, because of the apparent sort of backlash or whatever you want to call it from Tony Marshall in the papers, he might just sort of say, well, I'm not putting him straight back in after reports that Marshall's apparently saying he's unhappy or his agent might be putting stuff in the press. I don't think he'll come straight back in.
Okay, that's interesting. Harves, what's your 11?
I've got Romero, Valencia, Baye, Rojo, and Daley Blint. Midfield, we've got Herrera, Pogba, and Fellaini. And up top, Mickey, Zlatan, and Rashford.
Okie dokie. Right, let's talk about Wigan then. Howson, how's Warren Joyce's team getting on? There's a few ex-Reds there. Nick Powell is there, Reece James is there, and Andy Kellett is there. Are we expecting them to play? Have they been playing a lot? What can you tell us?
I think Nick Powell's been playing. Although when I have seen them play, he doesn't look like he's got the best of faces on him. It looks like he's permanently pissed off, which is a weird one. Doesn't look like he's happy in his own skin at the moment. They've been averaging less than a goal a game, 0.9 goals per game, which is why they're where they are in the table. But that's changed the last few weeks. They've scored a couple of goals. They're on a little bit of a streak. I think they knocked Forest out of the FA Cup, and then they've had a couple of decent wins since then. And I think they'll come here with nothing to lose. Warren Joyce obviously knows Old Trafford well. He obviously knows a lot of the players. And I think what we can expect from them is probably a 4-5-1. They're definitely going to come and make it tight. And I think the biggest danger for Manchester United isn't going to be what Wigan could do. It's our inability to score. Expect the goalkeeper to have the game of his life, as they've all had at Old Trafford this season. And I think it's just a case of, can they hold their bottle? Can they hold their nerve? Because I think if they can take it deep into the second half with it 0-0, which I think they're more than capable of doing, then we're going to have some problems. But if we get an early goal, we could embarrass them. It could be 4-5-0. They've not got a strong squad. There's a reason why they're really struggling in the Championship. They've got no money for new signings. I do think that if it's an early goal, it's going to be a complete embarrassment. But wouldn't be surprised, knowing Warren Joyce, if he makes it really difficult and takes right to the end of the game and it's like 1-0 after like 70, 80 minutes or something like that.
Yeah. Well, you say there's no money for signings, but Ravel Morrison, not signed yet, but he is training with them, isn't he? So is that possible?
He was training with them just before we started this, actually. I slung my mate a text. My mate's one of the scouts at Wigan. Because I also saw a tweet this morning from the BBC saying that he's training with QPR. So I said, like, has he left your place? And he was like, not as far as I know. So he has been training with them. I think if Warren Joyce can get a tune out of Ravel Morrison, I think he's probably one of the only ones who could get a tune out of Ravel Morrison. If he gets a tune out of him, then that's a fantastic coup there, really, for Wigan, because you've got a Champions League level player in a championship team. But from what I'm hearing, he's not been training. Well, he's been over in Italy and he's been getting fined every other week for not appearing in training. He's overweight. He's not sharp. So I don't think Ravel Morrison will be playing. I don't think he's going to be a threat to us if he does. I reckon, and I believe if they do sign him, it's going to be very, very late in the window because of the poor condition that he's in. So,
Joshy, what do you think of Wigan's chances? Do you expect a few ex-Reds to turn up and give us a difficult time?
To be honest, no. Looking at their last few games where they've actually picked up results, 3 wins in a row, not many of the ex-United players have featured. I think if they have done, it's been off the bench and only for like the last 10, 15 minutes. So I don't expect too many of them to maybe to start. They may come on. And looking at Wigan as a whole, yes, they've had this nice little mini run, but they're towards the bottom of the Championship for a reason. They went on a run of 6 losses out of 7. The other one was a draw. And whilst they've picked up results, they don't really have that individual sort of talent and threat, or at least they shouldn't do, given the quality that we have. So, yeah, they'll come and try and make things difficult for us. I think they'll put men behind the ball. And we have found it difficult against teams like that. But I think eventually we will come out on top. And it should be, hopefully, a relatively comfortable afternoon.
Yeah. OK, that makes sense. Halves. Do you think we should be resting people, or we're the FA Cup holders? Do we take this really seriously and play the strongest team?
Yeah, I think we've got to take the FA Cup seriously. It's still one of the greatest competitions in the world. But I can't see them causing us that many problems. They're in the position in the Championship for a reason. But I would have said that about a couple of teams that have come to Old Trafford this year, and we found it hard to break them down. They're probably just going to put everyone behind the ball, and like other teams that have come, their goalkeeper just turns into Superman.
Yeah.
But this shouldn't cause us that many problems.
No. Okay. Right. What do you think the score will be?
I'm going to go for 1-0.
Okay. Joshy?
I think it'll be sort of one of them 3. It'll be 3-0, but it won't be a spectacular 3-0. I think we'll get a goal, open them up a little bit. They'll have to come looking for the equaliser, and then we'll just get a couple towards the end of the game.
I like that, and I also enjoyed how specific you were about how it would happen.
That's exactly how it's going to happen. Put your money on it. Put your money on it.
Howson?
Do you know what? I actually try and put a bit of thought into how these are going to go down, these games, and based on the selection that I think he's going to use and all the rest of it. And do you know what? It means nothing in a grand scheme of things. So I'm just going to go with an absolute wild one and then celebrate wildly like I'm Mystic Meg if it comes off. So I'm going to say 7-1 United.
Wow. That is ambitious. Although I think we'd all be delighted if that happens. I'm being much more conservative. 2-0. Easy. Right, guys, let us know what you think. What do you think the score will be? What do you think about Michael Carrick, Paul Pogba, and all the other things we've discussed? Get it in the comments below. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next time.